after the show.
Called what?
Loot Crate.
Is this a Borderlands thing?
No, it's a real life Borderlands type thing. I'll tell you about. I meant to tell you about it earlier, but we really need to get started. Okay, so SF-16 is what we're doing today, according to the top of our document.
What?
Here we go. Here goes the music.
This is Armored and Mon.
And I am Charles McFall, and we are all about bigger, badder, better, more.
Bigger, badder, better, more. We're here to help others be awesome.
And you've landed on the comedic motivational show, Success Freaks.
Welcome everyone to the #1 sexy, raspy voice comedic motivational show, otherwise known as Success Freaks. Today's working title is 165 Labor Day Adventures in the Minnesota Renaissance Dragon Con land of fun and stuff. Today we're coming at you live, semi-live actually, from Roseville, Minnesota, and the Bears Den in Monticello, Georgia. And in that Bears Den is the dark side of positive, Charles McFall.
This is my sexy, raspy voice.
I kind of faltered on all that because I wanted to throw everything in that we were doing, and at the moment is when my girlfriend chose to show me that she had found a frog inside, and so I'm going,
Hey, kiss it. You might get your prints and go away. We're recording.
No, it's a zombie frog, from what I understand. So.
Okay, whatever. So yeah, we've done some amazing things. For the listeners at home, for those of you listening on the AM radio, don't think this is just a rambling about our lives thing. We have lessons we've learned. We've both done some big things over this long weekend in the U.S., and we're going to share our ideas, what we've learned, our adventures, some things we've leveled up our lives, some things we stepped out. At least for me, stepped out of the comfort zone and tried. So. You know, one of the things let's just jump in. So one of the things I tried was being quiet, which is apparently not what people expect of me, because I got chastised in the first panel at DragonCon. Because last year I went, and I'm known for at least any panel I go to. Once you get to know me, I tend to, if I have a question, it's usually a good one. And I got chastised last year about being a fanboy. Instead of doing this deep question at New Media Expo about what's going on in relation to the thing, I just kind of went, hey, I love your stuff, thanks. And one of my friends was like, really? You always get up there with these great questions and that's all you have? So this year at Dragon, I went last year and made an impression on people, and we get into the first panel, and I'm very much trying to, I don't want to be the guy who has all the answers. I don't want to be the jerk who gets up there and goes, hey, well, what about this and what about that? And it's a kickoff panel, and they're having conversations. And I had some things to add. I didn't have a question, so that made me hesitate. So I don't have a question. I have something to add. Like, I really am kind of an expert on what you're talking about. This one moment, I want to throw my 2 cents in a different perspective, but I didn't because I didn't want to be the jerk. And so I got chastised after that. The guy who runs the track, Brian Dunaway, and Megan Spagnolio. But Brian's one that came out, Dunaway's one that came up to me. He's like, man, where were you? I was looking to you for questions, and I couldn't find you because it was a packed room. I was like, well, I'm sorry. I didn't really have a question. So I got yelled at for not talking. So I definitely rectified that going through the weekend. How about you? Did you try anything new this weekend, sir?
Well, I did of course I'm working out at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival. It's our big weekend, and there were days where we were just, like, first 2 days, threat of rain and everything like that. However, for our very last show of the day, our biggest show of the day, from the beginning to the end, we were in a downpour. And I don't mean it was sprinkling on us and gosh, people stayed and it was not that bad, or people put under. It was a downpour that we had to deal with. And we told everybody, if 50% of you stay in the audience, we will stick it out. And it got to a point where at first you're just like, oh, this sucks, you know, and you're just doing that in your head, and maybe you'll make a comment. And they got to the point where you're like, we're looking at each other, we're like, we're soaked, and nobody's leaving. We're in it, so let's do it.
Wow, yeah.
So everything kind of blew up from there, and I'll talk more about that later, but that was a little bit of a different thing. It was just learning to be grateful and excited in in the downpour, man. It was a heavy rain, and Minnesotans, we said this, you're like, you don't have enough sense to get out of the rain. Well, okay, we'll stay too. And it was fun. Thank God there was no lightning because, you know, we have metal swords and we're stabbing at the sky going, I dare you. At one point I look up, I'm like, come at me, bro. Is that all you got, George? Come on.
George. What about, don't you wear wireless microphones?
We do, and that's another thing we were worried about, that they were gonna blow out. But
Right.
during the last show, we take off our shirts, so we wrap them around our necks, and so our chins kind of give them a little bit of a.
What about the packs? So the packs are where the batteries are.
They were fine. They're fine. They're wrapped in a leather case, and the leather absorbed most of that. And
Okay.
you know, that's we didn't normally at the end of the day. I'll put mine in a sealable waterproof case, and I'm like, nope, leave it out. It needs to dry out. So
That's
very
sorry for those of you at home. I just immediately kind of get tech on that. Like, wait a minute, you got expensive gear that runs on electricity. What are you doing? Get out of the rain.
Yeah.
I know that's not what the people at home want to hear. So I'm sorry about that. But yeah, so you definitely had an adventure, and Minnesota's one of your bigger, or the bigger show that you do.
Yeah.
Dragon Con was interesting this year. It's huge. Let's to set the setting. This is a conference for geeks. It was started with tabletop gaming. And I don't mean like Monopoly. I mean like Dungeons and Dragons, those kind of things where you draw the maps and you do Dungeon Master stuff. And I believe it started obviously in one small place and has grown to 5 of the major hotels in downtown Atlanta. I'm talking about the big name expensive hotels. It's 5 hotels, and essentially, if you don't count the blocks in the middle, because you don't go in the middle, it's 2 blocks up, 3 blocks over, so 5 block square area. It's huge, and there's 60,000 plus people who come to this, especially on Saturday. Man, Saturday you cannot get anywhere on Saturday. It got crazy, so it's overwhelming. And I went by myself last year. This year, our buddy Hugh from the Roadshow flew in, and he's here. He's downstairs somewhere. He didn't want to be on the show today.
Wait, whoa! Hugh is there?
Yeah, he's here. He's gonna polish off our show tomorrow, so you have to give me the audio as quick as you can before he has to fly home. But
awesome.
yes, so it's easier when you have somebody, so you're helping direct them, and it's a whole different adventure because he wanted to try things I never wouldn't hit my radar. So we got to do different things. It was fun, but it's definitely overwhelming, and you just have to take things one step at a time. You know, you have to be cool, and everybody hears something like Comic-Con Dragon. Oh, that's where all the weirdos go and dress up. Well, yes, that's a part of it, but there's so much more. I've learned so much stuff, and I'm going to tell you about some of my adventures here in the next segment. Because I will drop a bomb on Mr. R. Morning Mon. He's going to be like, woo! And it's going to be a fun segment. But there's so much. There's science tracks where people went and big time scientists, actual scientists, are there talking about science stuff, and lines are out the door. Skeptics are talking about whatever skeptics talk about. There's puppetry. There's all kind of things there, including TV shows and those kind of things. So it's definitely, you took an adventure in this downpour, and I took an adventure in this downpour of people. It was a lot of people. So what are we saying here, Morton? We're saying you get out and try something new, take big steps. What are we trying to tell our people?
Absolutely. We're talking about mixing it up with like-minded people. We're talking about getting out there and have this adventure that is life. Enjoy it. And if it rains on you, you can sit there and talk about how much it sucks and have a bad show or whatever, have a bad day. That's your choice. It is what you make of it. There's going to be days, and I think I talked about this last episode, but if not, then here it is again. There's going to be days in the future where I don't do Tortuga Twins anymore, and I'm going to say to my old frail self, I wish for that day where it rained on me, because even that was glorious. And if you can find yourself with an attitude of appreciation now, respecting and having a gratitude for what you're going through now, even when you're taking your lumps. Even when Muhammad Ali is beating you down to the ground and you're George Foreman and he says, "Is that all you got, George?" and you're like, "Ugh," but you'll be remembered for that. because you're in the ring with Muhammad Ali. You're at the, at one of the biggest shows at the Renaissance Festival, getting rained on and making people laugh and stay there with you in spite of it. There's a magic to that. Or you're at Dragon Con learning new things.
Oh, look, there's a hard stop right there. We're going to come up to our time, and I found Don Knotts to jump in on this because we will just talk forever. So you want to hear more? You want to tell us about your adventures? You want to ask about adventures? Hit us up, successfreaks.com. Everything is there. Contact at successfreaks.com will get you right to us. So stay tuned. We got so much more to tell you coming up next.
Yeah, you need to give me some. That was great. We need to find a different thing other than him.
Yeah, no, I was looking for ho ho ho, but I apparently do not have him lined up.
Right,
so
that's fine.
We'll have to come up with something.
If we can have like a 10-second thing, well, before you have to do your talk, so that we can at least finish the point.
Yeah, well, you mean like the clock in front of you?
No, I started it late,
okay.
That was my bad. I wasn't set up. So yeah, you're right. That's good enough.
Yeah,
you're right. We already have these things in place. So fuck off.
So I'm like, but you always said last week. You're like, I was watching the time. Like, so okay, but I threw it off too. I just said here comes music. I didn't say music marker time. I didn't do that. That was also my bad. So let's do it good. Let's do good on this next segment. Right. All right. So
that's segment 2. We're gonna be doing discussion. You're gonna throw stuff at me, and I will.
Yeah, we're going to talk about, and you'll probably tell some more about. You said you have more to talk about with the downpour, that kind of thing.
Right.
All right, so 8.
I was kind of winding down. I was right at my last thing, but there's always more to talk about. What else?
Whatever.
New stuff.
All
right.
So you got your timer ready?
Yep.
Go ahead. Just make it. Okay. So I'm going to do marker. Then I'm going to hit the time, and then you'll jump in. All right. Marker time.
Welcome back to Success Freaks. Today we are talking about our Labor Day adventures. And because I've been chastised not to scream into the microphone anymore, you're going to get to hear the dulcet tones of Morton and McFall as they talk about their Success Freak weekend.
So this weekend, I met Vivaldi. He was actually at Dragon Con. No, I don't know. I can't do that. NPR, right? NPR is always either they're talking about some news, which I don't care about, or we could go Saturday Night Live. So you make sweaty balls? That's you're Mr. Sweaty, and yeah. Saturday Night Live people Google it, and that was Alec Baldwin in the '90s, I think. He was a guest, and he did the sweaty NPR. Anyway, SCHW.
Wow, no idea.
Oh no, that's a great NPR skit. Just Google on YouTube Saturday Night Live NPR or Alec Baldwin. It's one of the best skits that was ever done on there, at least in that era. So that Dragon Con. And here's the thing: there's lots and lots of opportunities for everything. I mostly go to the podcasting track because there's things like advanced audio creation that I want to go to this year. I specifically. We're making the announcement tonight on my other show that from the Helicarrier, but we're launching. We've been working on it for about a month now. We're getting ready to launch a network based around what we do on from the Helicarrier called the Helicarrier, and it's going to be a big deal. So I went to a panel called Creating Your Own Network and those kind of things. But I also tried to go to like a Red Dwarf panel. Well, I did go to a Red Dwarf panel. We tried to go to a Lego thing because Hugh is into Legos. And we didn't get into that one, but we actually, Terry Gilliam, who wrote and did stuff with Monty Python and is best known for Brazil and Time Bandits, he was there. He has a new movie that he's made that's on video on demand right now. It's about to go to theaters. But he said he was there talking about the movie and questions and answers. We went to that kind of panel. It was cool. But there's so many celebrities and stars, and they have the Walk of Fame. And it's this massive room where everybody who's in TV, if they can, they come, and especially geek TV like Stargate. If anybody from Star Wars ever showed up, they'd have their own room. That's not there. But William Shatner's been there. Actually, Patrick Stewart was there this year. He had his own room because he's such a popular attraction to get signed and pictures and all that stuff. But they have this big room that you walk through and see the stars. I talked about this last year. And on the first day, I cruised through there this year just to see, is there anybody here I'd like to talk to, because there's just something in me that doesn't click with getting autographs or getting pictures. It's like with our one at Mon, when I met him as Rafael Tortuga, I got them to do something from our show. Hey, would you say you're listening to da-da-da-da? And they did. The three the Tortugas did. But I never got an autograph or anything like that because I'm like, I like you guys. For me, it's all about the experience. Once we started working together, it was like, Instagram, I'm working with Rafael Tortuga. Look, he's my friend. That's where I would take pictures. It's that kind of thing. Because it's still the experience. So I cruised through, and I'm a huge fan of the Dresden Files. And Paul Bomar, I believe, is the actor who played Dresden a couple years ago when they only did 2 seasons. And I've watched him on other things, and he happened to be there. Nobody was there. He's actually getting up, getting ready to leave. I just walked right up to him. I was like, Mr. Bomar, loved you in Dresden Files. Just want to say thank you for the stuff you did. And it broke my heart when I saw you on my wife's show, some girly show on like ABC. And it broke my heart, not because you did it, because you made that show better, because you're awesome, but because I knew instantly when you're on that show, Dresden Files was canceled. So, and he, just like your reaction, Morty, he laughed. And there's another cruiser from. There's 2 people I decided I wouldn't mind talking to. One was writer and director of Guardians of the Galaxy movie, James Gunn. He was there. And, of course, he had the big celebrity off to the side table because Guardians of the Galaxy is, like, super massive, huge right now. I believe Tony Stark himself, who's the actor?
Robert Downey Jr.
Robert Downey Jr., thank you, has said it's the best Marvel film so far. And I was like, okay, I'm going to get him to say, you're listening to From the Helicarrier, because that would matter in that universe. We'd do Marvel stuff, and it would be big. And then there was somebody else. I'm not going to talk about who they are right this second, but this is stepping out of the comfort zone. I know it's supposed to be a discussion, but I'll tell you this story because I'm excited, sir. So just yeah. So there's this celebrity, and he's a super nice guy, and I just would like to shake his hand. Well, as I'm watching him do his thing throughout the weekend, I'm thinking, he's such a great storyteller. I went to a panel of his last year, and it was just this amazing experience because he's telling these stories, and it just comes through. I've heard him on some podcast interviews, and no matter what he's doing, you don't have to see him. He just shines through. And he really should do a podcast. And I mentioned that to my wife. She goes, well, why don't you go talk to him about it? I'm like, okay, if you think so. All right. But I was like, but it felt right. I was like, okay, why not? I should at least put out the idea. Maybe he can do it with somebody. I'm not going to say he should do it with somebody else. I'm going to say, just give him the idea. I talked to somebody else who had press credentials, and I said, well, what does that mean for you? And they said, this is what it means. We get access to the stars. Because we do an interview show. We get access to them. We get to interview them. And I interviewed this guy I'm talking about. I was like, yeah, man, he is so cool, right? He said, yeah, he's like the awesomest guy. He's so laid back, so awesome, so real. I said, I'm thinking about talking to him about creating a podcast. And immediately they kind of expected well, yeah, he's cool, but, he's out of your league. Or just, or maybe they take the idea themselves, whatever. No, they went, oh, you should do that. You totally should do that. And this is a person who didn't know me, didn't know I create podcasts. As opposed to, I create podcasts for other people as opposed to just doing one for myself. And I ran it by, I think, one other person. They had the same reaction. No, you should do that. So I did. I went and waited in line, and I was like second in line. And actually, the night before I went and waited in line, I was in line for something else, and he came by. And I said, hey, and I said his name, and he stepped over, and I shook his hand. And he was going to talk to me. I was like, no. I know it's late. You just finished up. It's like 11 o'clock at night. You just finished up a panel. I know you're busy. Thank you for your time. I'll come and see you in your area tomorrow. And he's like, oh, okay. And he took off. But he was totally going to give me the time of day, as it were. So I waited in line. I talked to him, and he's like, I said, I heard you on this podcast. And he's, oh, yeah. I started with the biggest one that he would remember. I heard you on that podcast. He goes, oh, as opposed to coming to him from his TV show. I was like, dude, you're so awesome. You shine through. You're such a great storyteller. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? He's like, you can tell just the wheels are turning. It's like, no, but, I guess I could talk about, like, what's on my Facebook or my Twitter. It's like, no, dude, you can talk about anything you wanted. You can do it weekly, every day. You can do it once a month. You can talk about underwater basket weaving. That's what you're into. And he cracked up. And I gave him my card, a Success Freaks card with my name on it. I said, and he goes, to be honest with you, and I won't tell you exactly what he said, but he said, to be honest with you, I lose these things all the time. So go to my Facebook page. Are you on Facebook? And I almost went, am I on Facebook? Seriously? But I said, yeah. He goes, go to Facebook, follow up there. He goes, thanks, man. Thanks for that. That's a great idea. So I'm going to follow up with him. And the reason I don't want to say who it is because I'd still want to follow up with him and see if it's a serious thing, if he's interested in actually doing it, and if he's interested in working with me. But I might actually start producing a podcast for a super well-known dude in the universe. It's a little out there, but that was out of my comfort zone, because I'm like, but he's a big star. He could like pay Hollywood Studios to do that kind of thing. But all right, I'll try it. Why not? And I did not get James Gunn to finish up that story. His line was locked. It was a 4-hour wait to even get in line. Here's what I missed opportunities, Mr. Morning. I know I'm eating up our time. I apologize. We'll follow up with your comments. But talking about missed opportunities real quickly, I did not go to a podcasting after party because it was late. I was tired. I had an hour and a half drive home. James Gunn came to the podcasting party. I totally could have got him to say from the hell carrier, and I could have had beers with him and hung out with him, and I missed it. So in case you're missing your opportunities, like Mr. Mordant has missed his total opportunity to speak in this hour because I monopolized it in this section, rather. Go to SuccessFreaks.com. Check out all our stuff. Facebook.com/SuccessFreaks. And a big shout-out to AM 1450 for getting us on the air. Thank you for being our home station here on the East Coast and sharing us with everybody in your audience. We are Success Freaks. Come back. We're going to have a question or a comment from the audience and more follow-up next. Okay, I should have saved that story for On Beyond. I'm sorry, man.
Dude!
So, hold on.
How does that... Can you tell me? Of course you can tell me. Wait.
No, I'll tell you off all the airs. Yeah. I would definitely... I want you to have your reaction, and then we'll talk about our listener next. That's
wait. Before we do that, it's 8:59.
It's 9:59 on the next one.
No, I'm looking at this one. Do you want to move this section and put it in the On Beyond?
Do you want to put this section in?
I'm throwing it at you. I'm like, would it be better served?
No, I think because it's gonna. The way I touched on it is like, I keep taking it, but it pushed me to do the story. I don't know. It feels right here to me.
That's fine. That's fine. I just wanted to throw that out there because we always have that option.
Yeah, I know.
Hey, this is better for here.
You're right. You're right.
No, I got this. Here's the thing. I'm not sure what this question, because it's so many questions.
Well, first, let's just do this. Let me look at it. But I want you to come back in. I want you to give responses to all the story, and then we have. It's not really a question. We have this thing from listener Jeremy, and we just kind of hit the highlights. Treat this as like bullet points of, he talked about this. I like that. You can't feel guilty or responsible. Let's talk about that for a moment. So it's not really a listener question, but he had some stuff, and, what do you think about that? Just kind of cherry picking.
Yeah, so
we'll say we're cherry picking as opposed to reading, because it wasn't an exact question that he wrote, so we're going to talk about some of the stuff he talks about here.
Yep.
And then we read
yeah, if you look at it, it's all these little ones. Don't get discouraged from your dreams, and then we've kind of segmented it all right there.
Yeah, I see it.
So all right.
And leave the feedback thing off. We'll do that later.
So, what do you mean? Which feedback for?
At the very bottom it says, "Thank you. Please give some feedback." That'd be very nice. We don't only say that.
All right. Yeah. Let me just.
All right. So you're gonna. Cause I'm sure you've got things to say like that, dude. And throw it out there. Take over this next segment. If you're ready, get your clock ready, because I'm ready to hit marker and time. Okay, so you're going to hear marker, then you're going to hear time, and we'll both hit time at the same time, and you'll go.
Yeah.
All right. Marker, time.
Welcome back to Success Freaks, where it is all Charles McFall all the time. Except in this segment where I get to say a bloody word or two. That very nice. Yeah. Very nice. Charles, for those of you in our listening audience, Charles is showing me a name tag with his big name on it.
Yeah, my big name on it.
So yeah, a lot of what you said, and you did hit the very end. You did hit the parable for this story, or the Aesop's fable theme of this story, is that you have to take your shots. Gretzky said you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You wound up not going to that party, which was set up so that you could get that guy and talk to him and get everything that you wanted from him. You did, however, talk to this, mystery celebrity, and now because you went way outside your comfort zone, and you took advantage of that, now here's an opportunity. Now, will this lead to you working with him? Maybe. Will this lead to you meeting other people? Maybe. Will this lead to you maybe even creating a podcast or several podcasts with people in his circle? Maybe. Would it have done this if you hadn't talked to him at all? No.
I can tell you what it would have done if I not talked. I've been like, man, why didn't I talk to him? It was just because I truly start from the point of I want him to have. I think it'd be great. I would listen to his show. I think it'd be an amazing show. So whatever he talked about, it didn't matter. It was like somebody suggested How to Be Awesome with the guy's name. That'd be a great show because everybody thinks he's an awesome guy. So yeah, what would have happened if I didn't? Is I absolutely have been like, this is crap, and I'm not a success freak, and now I feel guilty.
And shut up now. It's my turn to talk.
I'm sorry.
And there's one of the things too. It's just I lost it because I just chastised you. Darn it!
Take opportunities you don't know. You miss 100% shots you don't take.
Yeah, pretty much that was it.
But personally. Because you off the air, I had to stop you because you're like, the first thing you went was like, dude. So personally, where's what are you thinking about all this as a personal friend of mine?
Oh, yeah, I got my note. I'll get back to your thing in a minute.
Okay. All right.
Here's the thing, and a lot of what I do with my own personal life and things, I ask myself, how am I going to feel about this? Not does it fix a situation, not does it, tipping somebody, handing somebody, if somebody comes up and asks you, hey, donating money to somebody, whether you see them on the street or somewhere else, it's how will this affect me? Am I going to feel good about it afterwards? Am I okay with, my amount of tithing or donating that I've done, or am I going to feel not good about it? Am I going to feel good about you know what, it's not ready for me to talk to the celebrity, or am I going to feel bad about not having done it? Whether or not Charles gets something from this opportunity, he feels better about taking that step, and that alone helped him grow. It helped him grow into going, look, it's possible for me to talk to these people. Whether or not something comes from it does not matter. What was important at that time was that he went ahead and put himself outside his comfort zone so that he can do that later. Now there's that possibility, and that's exciting. If you don't do that, there is no possibility, and that's a drag, man. We've all had the day after day after day of, hey, my life's not working out for me because I'm not doing anything about it. I'm sitting on the couch, and it's kind of boring. We've all had that. That part of life sucks. How do you change that? You have to change that. You have to take those chances. You have to take those shots. How do you become the great Gatsby? You take those shots. The great one, take those shots. And
I thought you had to
Charles can talk now.
I thought you had to be Leo to be the great Gatsby. I'm sorry.
What? Oh, the great
Gatsby. He plays yes.
Gretzky, that's Wayne Gretzky, the great one.
Yeah. The great one.
What do I know about hockey? I grew up in Florida.
So we don't really have a listener question. Now, obviously, this is the listener question area, and I insisted that Mr. Mortimer had his feedback and his thoughts on that last segment because I just totally took every last second of it. We definitely have some listener comments from. We want to use a first name, I guess. Listener.
This is from listener Jeremy.
Okay.
And he sent me a message on Facebook, and as I put it here in Success Freaks, and I'm like, well, I think he's the guy that came up to me and was saying, hey, when are you going to do another Mortal World video? And I'm like, this week. So he's given me a lot of suggestions, but we're gonna talk about these here, and then I'll do a video as well. And we're gonna just like Charles was saying before, cherry pick his things, and we'll just discuss each one as we go down. One of the things he says is don't get discouraged from your dreams. They are not supposed to be easily achieved, and I think we saw a little bit of that with you and Dragon Con. I mean, sure, it's probably easier for you to do what you did because you're you, but that's not you. You've not always been that guy who could talk to just anybody. That's been something you've grown into. And I'm sure you've had discouraging moments too.
Just a little insight. It took everything inside of me to muster up the courage to talk to the Tortuga Twins and be like, hey, I bought a $20 hat. Can you speak into my microphone, please? And so it was. I mean, it was nerve-wracking to talk to these guys. They were stars. So now, you're right, I've grown into who I am, where it wasn't nerve-wracking at all. I talked to them like a human being, which I think will make a bigger impression. But there was still work, man. I had to get up earlier than I wanted to. We had to drive and get out there early. We had to stand in line for... Ultimately, what ended up being 2.5 hours because we had our information wrong. So, yeah, there was work to do all that. So while I wasn't nervous, there was a lot more going into it. That you can
Yeah,
just
exactly.
end.
And don't think that oh well, you're just who you are. This is going to be easy for you. When I started doing acting, or even when I started, actually more specifically, when I started doing speaking, people are like, oh, it's got to be easy for you. Well, on some level, I'm more comfortable with the uncomfortableness, with the dis-ease, but no, it's out of my element. It's not, I don't have a script that I've learned. I get really nervous when it comes to speaking until I've learned everything about it. So it's not easy. I still feel that quote unquote panic that you feel. It's just that maybe I'm better at dealing with it because of what I've done. So don't get discouraged from your dreams, and they're not supposed to be easily achieved, because then they'd be boring. Anybody that's ever played video games knows that the bigger the challenge, the sweeter the victory. Anybody who's reading a book, if everything happens so easily to the characters, it's a boring book. It's a boring movie. Who cares then? Everything handed to them on a silver platter? We don't want to see that. We want to watch the underdog, because we believe that's how it is for us. We're those guys that are toughing it out. And if they can achieve it, I can achieve it. If they're scared when they're doing this and still moving forward, I can move forward because I'm scared too. So, don't be discouraged. Everybody who's successful has had the same fears as you. They just learned to deal with them.
Yeah. So I like what he said about. Sorry, I was going to tell a story. That was the first she asked about launching the story. I was like, no. Let's keep it back to what he's saying. So that's the don't get discouraged from your dreams of what this listener Jeremy put out here. I like this. This is something I've talked about with Hugh a lot this week, and it came up through the panels of what other people were saying. Don't let the opinions or words of your peers influence you or discourage you. Peer pressure. When I first started podcasting 10 years ago, it was like, you can't do that. I did all kind of things. I'm watching the clock, so I don't want to fill up the time. But there were so many things that I did that everybody was like, you can't do that. Nobody wants that. You can't do that. And even to my point, my friend Hugh, who is here with me, would tell me, don't put the cart in front of the horse. And he would tell me not to do things. And I was like, I got to do what I got to do. And now I'm an expert on things, representing information on panels, giving out information on panels, and talking to celebrities in a legitimate way that might get business and a connection there to help him be awesome. If I'd listened to people tell me I can't, I wouldn't be here today. I wouldn't even be on Success Freaks. But I did, a caveat to that is I did ask people I trusted first, should I? And they said, absolutely, yes, why not? And then I asked people who are respecting the business, and they said yes. So there's a test the waters, but don't, if you know you got to do what you got to do, if everybody told me, no, don't go talk to this dude, and my heart said, yes, do it, I would have done it anyway, because I've built a history on, you know what, I know what I need to do.
Right. There's a motivational quote out there, and I can't remember it exactly. If I find it, I'll put it up. But it's basically, don't let other people's doubts about their own lives put you down or drag you down because of what you know about yours. And I really just butchered that. Basically, if people are trying to hold you back, they don't want you to change your guys' group dynamic, or they're just like they're like, I can't do this, so you shouldn't be able to. Now, that's not how it's working in their head, but
right.
You want to grow beyond those people anyways. If you become too big for that group, it's time to move on. Otherwise, you're just going to be that group, and you're not going to be happy. That's not where you want to go in any of this. So believe me, don't let the opinions or words of your peers influence you or discourage you. This is your life. You get to live your life. Go out there, do it. Put yourself outside your comfort zone and hit that wall.
Yeah, Oh, hey, look, that's why you stopped.
Yeah, I know. That's why I ended it right there.
Thank you, sir. So check us out, successfreaks.com. We're on Twitter at @success_freaks. Hit us up there. We'll be right back.
You can probably cut out that. If it was a little bit over, you can cut out that dead air.
It actually was dead on. And right. I like it because that was unusual. Oh, you actually. And honestly, if we're that close, you can, if you want, you don't have to stop. You can just wrap it out.
Okay. All right. All right. What I should do is write down some of what you say, or so I go, okay, this is what it looks like, so I have it.
10:49 on the clock.
Oh, what are we doing here? The level up part.
Level up part, which we've been kind of talking up a little bit. Is there anything from what he said that we didn't get to that might help?
No, you can leave it. I think that's fine because then I can address it in the vlog. That way it's not double teaming.
Yeah. It's fine.
Where's that at? Right there.
So I think I have a level up question for you.
Oh, okay, that's great.
Basically, it would be in my situation, you as you are right now, and I want you to prepare for it. That's what I'm telling you. You as you are right now, in my situation at Dragon Con, you found the two people you want to talk to, James Gunn, huge director, massive lines to get to him, and then a star that you're like, man, I really think he should do this. You know, the whole story, blah, blah, blah. But you as you are right now, either by yourself or with, not me, but with somebody else at Dragon Con, what would you have done? I want you to kind of think how you would level up your life that way.
Yep.
I'm ready if you are.
I am getting there.
10:49.
Excellent. Yep, ready.
Okay. So I'm going to do marker time, blah, blah, blah. Marker time.
Welcome back, everybody, to Success Freaks. Today we are talking about our Labor Day adventures. Charles spent some time at the infamous Dragon Con, and I was, of course, at the Minnesota Renaissance Festival. So, yeah, this is our level up section. And Charles, you said you had something during the break.
Yeah, you know, obviously I could come through, and we've talked a little about how I've leveled up and this and that, but I want to throw it to you, the audience, and to you, Mordant, to think about this. I'd love to hear your answers. You'll hear Mordant's, but this is really a question to everybody. You being in my situation, you personally being in my situation, going, I really want to talk to this person, or I want to help them be awesome. I just have this thing. One was a big-time director that would have helped me out or just been cool. One was a star that I can actually possibly help him out, but it's intimidating. He was on a show that I really loved, and he has a huge fan base. What would you personally do if you were at Dragon Con in that situation and had that desire? So you can't cheap out, you can't escape, you can't go, well, I don't do a podcast, I don't have that desire. No. What if the scenario is you're at Dragon Con with somebody who's not me, a friend, somebody else, whatever, and you have the desire to help this big-time person out? What would you do? How would you level up your life?
Well, for me, I would, and I've had a similar experience to this. I would, I'm going to quote our friend that we don't know, John C. Maxwell, and say I would fail forward, and that's how I would talk myself into this. I remember a while ago we had a guest on that I just needed to go ask and see if she would be on the show, and she was at a con in Charlotte, North Carolina, and you know, I was just so nervous about it, but I was just like, I was just then learning the concept of fail forward. You know, go ahead and make a big mess of things, and you know, gloriously screw up everything, and you'll fix it later. Ready, fire, aim, not a big deal. So as I'm walking up, I'm just like, oh yeah, fail forward. You can do this. You know, it's not going to be a big deal. And it was okay to make mistakes. So at Dragon Con, I think I would have a similar experience. My nervousness would be at a higher level. My panic would be at a higher level because the star is at a higher level. It depends. I get really weirded out when I talk to authors. Maybe I won't be as uncomfortable talking to a celebrity. It also depends on what vibe they were giving off. But what would be helpful if I had a reason to talk to them? I'm going to go ask them this, whether to be on my show, do a podcast, whatever it is. Hey, have you ever thought of, if I have some kind of rant in my head, you know, or a purpose for being there, you know, I'm going to be a lot more at ease than just going up and going, I just want to say hi and I don't know what to say. So, you know, laying out my groundwork ahead of time is very, very helpful. So I think I would do it. I'd like to say I would do it. But again, the panic inside, the madness raging inside is going to be there. But like John Wayne says, you know, feel the fear and settle up anyways. Do it anyways. So yeah, but doing Success Freaks has been a big help for me in this. You know, I've really grown from doing this show.
You know, listeners, we want to hear from you on how you would change that. And I honestly, in preparation, I said I didn't get nervous. I didn't. There was never a, oh, should I talk to him? But there was a geek out moment. Like I said, when I met him in the hallway, and I yelled his name, and he stepped over. And I'm always respectful like that, especially at Dragon Con. Now, anywhere else in the world, had it been even outside the hotel, and I ran into him, I would have talked to him for a few minutes, said, hey, can I get a picture, that kind of thing. But the fact that we're at Dragon Con, they have an area, all the celebrities who are there to be celebrities have an area that they're paid to get their autograph. They're paid to get their picture made. So I think it's very disrespectful to not pay them for that. at that moment, saying I feel weird. And Hugh, who's actually behind me, getting his stuff together,
In his pajamas.
no, he's not. That's his shorts. He's all good. So he said, well, well, you put it on them. You just respectfully say, hey, can I get a picture? And you let them say, well, I have this area. I said, mentally, I know you're right. You're right that it's a business. As long as I'm respectful, I can give them an out. They can be respectful. No hard feelings. But I just feel bad knowing that, hey, you're making part of your income for being here is from giving out pictures while you're down there. I just don't feel right. It's like me coming up to an ice cream vendor going, hey, man, can I have some ice cream? You're a friend of mine, or I've never met you before, but I'm a nice guy. Can I have some ice cream? Well, there's a living to be made here. I know that Mordant and I give out advice all the time for free, and we write books and this and that and the other. But at one point, we were charging for coaching and that kind of thing. And it's like, okay, at a certain point, you have to draw the line because our time is valuable. We have to be professional. I don't like doing that. We don't actually currently offer coaching. A case-by-case basis, sure, but it's not like we're trying to make a business on it. But you got to understand, I do podcasting for a living. It's what I do. I produce, I create, I engineer, I do all this stuff. So while I will talk to you all day long about podcasting, there comes a certain point in time where it's like my time is money, and I have to respect that in other people. So I don't know, Morty, we have some time. Should I have had the opportunity? Should I have taken the minute to get out of line, walk with him, and pitch him one-on-one about podcasting, or did I think I did the right thing, but
I think you did the right thing in this situation. I think, and we've experienced, and this is a level up thing. When we first went to New Media Expo, we did a little bit of hard sell on a couple people, and it didn't really work out. And something that I've learned actually from, I think, Tim Ferriss, who wrote The 4-Hour Workweek, he talked about how he set himself up to be able to be on other people's shows, because when he went to, I think, New Media Expo and he was talking to somebody, he wasn't pushing his thing forward. He was like, hey, I really like your thing, and they were talking back and forth, and when they asked him what did he do, well, I do this. And he waited for them to become interested and to actually draw him in, as opposed to trying to shove it down their throat.
Yeah.
When we tried to hard sell a little bit, our first, not this year, but the very first year we did New Media Expo, there's some people that have been backed away from us a little bit. We were actually small fish trying to do a lot of big talk, and the big fish were looking at us going, oh, kids, grow up a little bit. And we have, and I think that shows that you have in this way.
I want to quote Hugh because he says this all the time, and it's great. Somebody else said it, but I quote him because it's where I hear it. That's a trap for young players.
Oh, nice. Very nice. So what's the level up on this? We're in the level up section. What are we trying to share with people on this one?
Well, to be honest with you, it's the kind of conversation we had before. It's know why you're there, know where you're going, and have a plan. The biggest thing that impacted me throughout this whole conference was everything. The underlying thing for podcasting was give back, help others, give back. But it was also know why you're doing this, know where you're going. And I was surprised when certain people that I thought had more things together didn't really have a plan. They didn't have an answer to that. And then I realized, hey, to a point, Success Streaks doesn't have a plan. So have a plan, have an idea. And this is open, this is on the net, so I'm not throwing him under the bus, but who's becoming a good friend of mine, Tom Merritt, is a really, really awesome guy, one of the coolest guys in podcasting. And one of the most...
What's the show? Pip him out.
He does daily tech news. He used to be on This Week in Tech. He was the one who essentially it rippled the whole podcasting universe because he kind of got fired from This Week in Tech, Leo Laporte's network, because he overpriced himself. But I won't go into all those details, but essentially it was time for him to take on new ideas and do his own thing. And he did daily tech news then, and he does sometime a tech show every day now. He does Sword and Laser. It's a big book club one with Frank and Belmont. Anyway, they're the role models of podcasting. It's like, well, let's follow them. And he goes, I don't have a business plan. Well, in the business world, to a sense of everything's written down, this is how we're going to make a profit, this is how we're going to sell at the end, he didn't. But when it turned out, here's what our business plan should look like, well, he definitely had ideas. I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that, I'm going to try this. So have an idea, have a plan. You don't have to have every step mapped out. You don't have to say, in 5 years we're going to do this, this is how we're going to make a profit, da-da-da. Just anything in your life. how am I going to get there? And I asked Morton, and I know we're wrapping up quickly, but I asked Morton, and you know what? Let's talk about that in the after. I asked Morton a specific question this morning, and we're going to talk about having
and realize too, I just want to throw this one thing is, as you're making a plan of what you're doing, realize that this can change. You're not locked into it, but if you have a direction where you're going, that's going to serve you, whether it's your business or just, you know, who you want to talk to, or what, you know, or when you go to Dragon Con, have a plan, be flexible, and be able to go with the flow and go with the fun, but have a plan to know what, you know, what you're doing a little bit. You're gonna get further than your buddy who's just like, I don't know. So there you go. Where can they find us, Charles?
They can find us, as we mentioned throughout the show. We're on Twitter, @success_freaks. We're on Facebook.com/successfreaks. We're soon to be on another site that once I have it up, we'll talk about that. It's not a network or anything. It's just somewhere you can help us out. If you like what we do, you can be a bigger part of what we do. Let's see, we're on Amazon. We have a book, The Success Freaks Guide to Dream Hunting. We're there. We are on iTunes, of course. Everybody's distributed through iTunes. And you can find us there. Rate us, share us with your friends. Am I missing something, sir? Where else are we?
Basically, any place you want to find us, go to successfreaks.com. It's all tracks through that. Find us there, and then the rest of the universe is there. So I think that's pretty much where we're talking about.
I'm also here in the Bears Den, which will be changing up in the next month or so. We're going to change where the Bears Den is located. All right, you know what? Let's go ahead. I'll come up with a name here. Let's go ahead and start.
Are you sure? You sure you got that name? Are you clever like that right now? Or are you just a little Dragonian?
Well, I got one. Let's see. Dragonian. Hey, get us out here.
All right, everybody, thank you for listening to Success Freaks as we took you on our Labor Day adventures. This has been our Morton Mon.
And I am Groot Bear.
Really?
James Gunn.
Awesome. Yeah, all right. That's awesome. All right. Ciao, Success Freaks. Boom, baby.
Yes. All right. I tried to track down James Gunn. I mentioned he was Guardians of the Galaxy. We'll see. So, okay, I've got some cool stuff for On Beyond. I'm going to put 10 minutes on the clock.
Just 10, not 12.
Well, 12
fine.
We kept going over, so 10 gives us more room than we need.
Right.
All right, so I'm going to do marker and time, and we're going to go. Marker, time. Welcome to On Beyond Success Freaks, where we go bigger, better, more into the topics of the evening. Today we're talking about our adventures and how we just physically leveled up our lives by going to places, having new things. I left off with, I asked Morton a question before the show, and we're talking about making a plan. That was the level up from that, making a plan, have an idea. And I said, Morton, where do we see Success Freaks going? We need to have just a where are we going meeting. Just what do we see going on? And he came up with all these great ideas, and I went, well, that's great. How are we going to get there? And so then he rephrased all his great ideas. And I went, that's not a plan. So and he goes, oh, and I wasn't actually asking for a plan. I wanted him to learn in his own way. What I learned in my own way was, you have to have where we want to go specifically, and then as we're focusing on that, we're starting seeing the steps fall into place. And just like New Media Expo, it came out, finances are what they are with all of us right now, and by all of us, I mean, him and some of my other shows and the things I'm tied into, all of us we're all hesitant to say we're absolutely jumping into New Media Expo. It's changing. They're doing something new. It's a little more expensive than it has been in the past. So everybody was like hesitant. But we all said, you know what? Let's at least take this one little step and see how the other steps play out. So it's really odd, but everybody I'm tied in with shows, specifically everything I do, we're all going. Every last one of us bought a ticket to New Media Expo, and that was the first step. So having a plan is at least knowing, well, let's take this little step and see let's try this. As Tom Merritt put it, let's try this idea and try that and see what works and see where we can build. And once Morton got what I was trying to do with him, I was like, that's not a plan. He goes, oh, well, I'll let you phrase it. How you don't have to quote yourself, but when you got it, what did you see?
Well, I see that, then I was giving you a lot of steps and kind of a lot of places that fit in there. But when you gave me the analogy of where you saw from the helicarrier, where it was going, I'm like, oh, those are more distinct goals versus, hey, how do we get to this point? You talked about how, different places you wanted to take, from the helicarrier. I want to get onto this show. I want to get onto this. I want to get onto that. It's like, oh, Success Freaks needs more of a, we've always, hey, we want to syndicate and be on the radio, but specifically, what does that mean? What does that look like? So let's start hammering that. Let's hammer out the destination, which may or may not change. That's fine, but hammer out the destination. I remember reading about a study that they started, I believe, in the 70s, and it was either Yale or Harvard graduates, and they followed them for like 20 years, and they found that the ones who had written down their goals went much farther than the ones who just kind of voiced their goals, and much farther than the ones who didn't have any goals at all. Now, these people, they even suggest, do this once a year, write down your goals for the year. You can shove those goals in your desk and not look at it for another year. You will still go further and do better than if you don't have anything at all. Right now, Charles and I are just kind of like, we're just doing the show right now. And that's great. And if this is all we wanted to do,
we're practicing, we're refining, we're pushing harder. I mean, that's part of our conversation today. We're tweaking. We're not just doing. I want our audience to hear that. We're not just coaching. We're still working on what we can work on right now.
Yeah, ever making it better. But if we ever really want to get bigger, better, more with this, if we really want to go somewhere with this, we got to at least, set a heading. Second star on the right, straight on till morning. That's fine. That's a heading. But if it's just like, hey, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing. Oh, that's a nice little hobby you have there. I don't want a nice little hobby. I want more. What was the quote? The Brad Pitt quote in Troy, the Achilles thing. I want what every man wants. I want more. Yeah. And maybe that's egotistical or whatever, or maybe there's a little bit of power to that. Because I'm not content to just sit back and play video games and live my life through other people's lives. I want to do more in this world and have I want to have more than just my Labor Day adventure. I want to have adventures, and I'm sure you do too. But sometimes you got to get off. And I haven't looked this up yet, but comedian Kevin Hart talks about.
Yeah, he's awesome.
All the people think that they will get somewhere by not working. And I want to find the quote, and he does kind of a mantra he does with all his guys before he goes on to the show. And I'm just like, I'm finding that to be very, very true, which is something I'm learning now. And so this is a good thing that Charles is bringing the business thing to me. It's like, I'm learning, like, you really want all this stuff? You got to put in the work. You got to do it. Sure, opportunities are going to come your way. Sure, things are going to drop in your lap, but you got to do the work. You really want to become this guy? Otherwise, you're just going to be doing a podcast once a week. And I've done the work to just get here. If I want to play at another level, I got to do the work. I got to set the heading. Second star on the right, straight on till morning.
And hit the microphone. Awesome!
For emphasis, that was my punctuation.
Yeah, drop the mic. I'm done. Absolutely. It's been I love questions, and I got more questions coming out of the conference than anything else. And what's interesting, and here's where life is what you make it, because it literally is a conference for gamers and for geek guys or girls, geek people. And I geeked out a minute when this star came by and was in line. I was like, I don't geek out very much. I was like, hey, and I called his real name, and I knew I just wanted to establish that face-to-face thing, shake his hand. But I swear to you, man, they had a little bit of alcohol on me, but not a lot, but a little bit. So that probably helped. But I shook his hand when he's done. I mean, my hand was like, I shook his hand. And I can still feel his hand shaking my hand. And I texted my wife, like, I shook his hand. And it's like one of those moments you can still enjoy life. So what I'm saying is with this, is I go in to learn something in everything that I do and look for opportunities. And while on the surface, everybody, when you in the local area, and it's in Atlanta, and I'm outside of Atlanta, so Dragon Con's in Atlanta every year at Labor Day weekend, and I'm about to buy my ticket for next year because it's like super cheap right now. When you mention it, it's like, oh, that's where people dress up. Well, yeah, and there's some great costumes. And I don't costume. There's a question I got to throw out here in a second. But I actually go and I learned so many things, not just from the podcasting panel, but I learned from asking questions and hearing them ask questions back. That I just brought questions to morning, and it was an awesome experience. So make it what it is. Don't just go because it's a geek thing to anything. Don't just go because it's a business thing. Where can you have fun at a business meeting? Where can you learn something that might affect your family relationship at a business meeting? Where can you learn business at a fun conference? Make it what it is. Now, Mordit, and if I have time, I'll add to this, but I wanted to ask you, you're a performer, you've done all kind of things, but if you were to finally get to go to Dragon Con, and you were so inclined to costume, what would you costume as?
Oh, I don't know, man.
The
The easy thing, and I probably wouldn't do this, but the easy thing that everybody keeps coming up to me and saying, "You look like Littlefinger," so maybe that'd be an easy thing.
Kinda.
Batman.
Batman, yeah.
Or I don't know, something that I look like that lends myself to it. I'm not sure. I don't think I'd go as a Tortuga Twin because that's my work clothes.
And then nobody would really. Well, actually, I think people would recognize you, but
people recognize me out of costume. I don't know. I think going as a Tortuga just kind of makes it like, oh, you're not trying. You're not dressing up. It's just kind of like it's calling attention to myself in a weird way. However, the Tortugas have talked about if we're able to step away for whatever, we wouldn't mind doing shows there because I think there's a possibility of that. So that may be something we could do. That would be entertaining and interesting. So, wow,
now,
what do you got?
I am not for you. I don't know, but I don't know what it is in my past that makes me this way. Something obviously, we are the way we are because of the experiences we've had. But I hate costumes for myself. I don't dress up. I did it once. I was really really good at it, and totally pulled off the character as the Punisher. This was way back when I was in college, and I dyed my hair and had a dozen guns, and everyone's like, "Holy crap! You look great." But I did, so it's not like a fear of it. I just don't do it. I don't like it. I don't know what it is about it. But as I'm there this year, the other thing is I'm very, very individual. I want something made for me. I don't just buy a T-shirt. I have to feel like that's a T-shirt I really like, number one, that really suits me, number two, and that not very many people have. And as things were going on this weekend, I know somebody who really does well making game costumes and game. I mean, he makes amazing stuff. Dude, you would have loved him. And it's on video. If you watch and everybody can watch this on YouTube. If you search Dragon Con podcasting, you can watch a bunch of the tracks that were there. You'll see me pop up from time to time asking questions. But on the business of podcasting, this guy comes in, and he's Dr. Zed from our great game Borderlands. And he was so awesome at making the costume, he looked like he stepped out of the game. I got to thinking about it, and nobody did this, and it'd be very hard for other people to pull this off, but I could totally do it. I think I would do Groot. I'd pay him a lot of money to make me the most authentic, awesome-looking Groot in the world, and I'm tall, so you just add a little bit longer head, and it'd be the size of Groot in the movies. And yeah, I think I could pull off Groot very well.
Nice. Well, actually, this Dragon Con that just happened, and you haven't mentioned her yet, our friend and first listener lounge speaker, Ellie Collins, was there. Yeah. And she, of course, has written finishing up a series of books called Empire Valley, and she's doing like an audio drama for her books, and has actually put out a casting call for that. And I threw my hat in the ring on that and actually got one of the parts. So if it was this past Dragon Con, I would have gone as the sheriff Abram, who is I don't know if I can talk about what he is because you probably have to find that out in the book. So yeah, and that's one of the things I would have done. Although I've just recently buzzed my hair from where that medium length of everything to almost it's a very short military cut. So I'm not sure she's gonna be able to use me anymore. She'll look at me and go, "Dude, where's your hair? You're supposed to have hair." So.
Well, yeah, they have wigs for a reason.
Did you see Ellie Collins there?
Oh yeah. She came to my panel. We talked for a bit. She has some amazing costumes. We've been chatting on Facebook. So yes, I did. I made a point to meet up with Ellie while we're there. So all right, but it is time for us to get out of here. It has been a great on and beyond. I loved your reaction. I wanted to see what you would think about costuming and what you would do, and I'm glad I threw that out to you. So you can always find us on SuccessFreaks.com and on AM 1450 in Gastonia, North Carolina. And it's I didn't even ask Dunaway. He might anyway. Blah 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 blah. So we're gonna have some more guests on this year, and I'm gonna be on more shows. You'll hear about that. Not permanently, just out there. So check us out, SuccessFreaks.com. For that, I've been Charles McFall. Take us out, sir.
This has been R. Mornert Mon. Ciao, Dream Hunters. Boom, baby. It looked like we were hitting the wall. That's why I just ended.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's what I wanted you to do. I do want to just end
Right.
the last part. I want it to feel final, whereas the first one was like, da-da-da-da, come back next week, or stay tuned for the next one. You know, this part is like, it feels good. It's like, no, it's final. It's like, hey, we're done. Go home. Bye. And we are right at the recording line. We hit like 59 minutes, whatever, but it took us a minute 44 to even get recording, and then it'll adjust. And I might have to cut some things out at the end. I might have talked too much, but yeah. So fun. Okay, so bye everybody on the video. Thanks for watching. Stop.